Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to another episode of Bridgeport Unmasked. I'm Librarian Adam, and today we are recording from the Beardsley Branch Library in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Today we have on Shoran Piper, clan mother of the Paugussetts, and fellow librarian Kate Moserticky. We will be talking today about all things about the Paugussetts. So thank you very much, both of you, for coming on. I want to start by introducing Shoran, the clan mother of the Paugussetts, and I feel the best way to do that is to quote a couple of lines that she wrote in her book, Red Road. I walk the path of my ancestors daily, and with my ancestors by my side. My father, Chief Big Eagle, told me over and over again, and that if you don't follow the American Indian ways of life, it'll come back to haunt you. Reclaiming our old ancestral home, he said with his voice raised, I'm not like the old Indians, refusing to camp, aka reservations, rather than face up to the white man. And he said, I'll die and go to hell right here. You better believe it. I am my father's daughter, and I'm 100 times worse. Shoran, thank you very much for coming out to talk to us today. So that was from your book, Red Road. Would you mind telling us a bit about what you wrote there and what that is?
Sure. Should I give a quick introduction really quickly?
Amazing. Absolutely. Yes, please.
Sego, my name is Shoran Piper. I am the clan mother, tribal head leader of Golden Hill Paugusset tribe, medicine woman and spiritualist, author of the book Red Road, spokesperson on many indigenous rights, including missing more indigenous women and people, and also spokesperson for two spirit genders, and on the council and committee, there's actually all the 5 tribes, for teaching the school curriculum to all of the school history teachers, which was the, of Connecticut mandated for the schools to start teaching it. Pre-contact, first contact, from kindergarten all the way up to college, university age. I am my father, Chief Big Eagle Piper's successor. I was, due to past few years undisclosed reasons, the DP Indian Affairs, the state of Connecticut, attorneys and lawyers had found documents that my dad was appointing me and naming me since 2003, over 6 different times. They had those, and now I have copies of those, and I only knew of him doing it in 2008. But yeah, so in, my book, The Red Road, is Afro-Indigenous book. Speaking that quote, my dad has been through probably hell and back already, but, and he fought, blood, sweat, and tears, and he was, fierce and, powerful and fearless. He was never in fear of nobody. And he really said what he really thought and what he really felt, and the things that, he's walked through and been through. Like I said, he's probably been ready to, hell and back on everything he's tried to do, everything he's fought for his people, his family, his tribe, and then just for American Indians in general. So that is kind of, my strength and energy, he had a temper, so everybody knew basically how that man was. He was considered a legend, so, I learned from the best, and most of my genes from my dad, so.
Fantastic. Well, I hope you speak with the same honesty and energy today. I'm sure you will. Just one question before I introduce Kate. Where could viewers get a copy of Red Road?
I have some. They could contact me, or they can go on Amazon or conjuresouth.com and look for publications.
Cool. Thank you very much. And Kate, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast to help this happen. It's going to be a good one. I know it is, because today is a very special day. Very happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for spending part of it here. in Beardsley Branch at the podcast studio.
Honestly, I consider it a little bit of a birthday present because I do love this stuff. So.
Indeed you do. And please tell us more specifically about why you love this stuff, in particular what you're studying right now.
Yeah, so I'm a librarian, so I got my MLIS, but I specialized in archives, and now I am getting my master's in Indigenous History from the University of Nebraska Kearney. And I will cop to it. I am a direct descendant of colonizers, but it is continuing, the legacy that some of them actually were friends with natives and advocated for the local native community, and trying to continue that legacy in a modern way. But I'd love to be an archivist for indigenous communities. That's my goal.
Fantastic. Well, this is a step towards that here in its own regard. So I'm actually going to take a backseat at this podcast. I'm going to let Kate and Shoran duke it out and tell us all about all the things that they're going to talk about. So I'll join back in towards the end, but let's have a great podcast.
All right. So, Shoran, I'll just start off pretty basic, actually. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the Paugussetts, about your history, your culture. You guys are the local Native peoples here in Fairfield County.
Yes. We have actually 2 reservations in Connecticut. I'm born and raised and still reside on the oldest continuing reservation, since 6059. That's in Trumbull. And then probably about hour or so minutes, depending on which way you take. My nephew, the war chief, Kicking Bear Piper, he resides on the Colchester Reservation with his family.
Oh, okay. Again, so you guys have 2 different groups on each rereservation.
Yeah,
okay.
Born and raised. He's still residing there with his family and, grandchildren as well now. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. My brother was the war chief, and I appointed my nephew after his father. So.
Well, that brings really into the next point. So you're the clan mother. So explain to us, what does that mean? And then you mentioned war chief. What's the difference?
So the clan mother is tribal head leader. You will see in different tribes, whether it's, you have a clan mother, or it's just a chief or chiefess, or you have a sub-chief, council chief. You'll see a difference. You can have both. There's a clan mother, there's a chief, or then there's just a clan mother and no chief, or there's just a chief or chiefess and no clan mother. So my dad was a successor after my grandmother. My grandmother was a clan mother, chief, and chiefess. So she went by 3 different ways. She was also medicine woman. Yes, spiritualist. She appointed my father. And I was named successor. So I'm like the overseer, tribal head leader, getting the future generations ready, keeping the history and tribe and doings and goings alive. We have a good amount of tribal family members who are very active. We have 200 on the tribal roll. We have women who are still giving birth to children every year, which is fantastic for our next 7 generations. So it's kind of like, and the clan mothers have like the last say-so. They have the last signature. They have the last word. Everybody would go to converse with the clan mother on everything and anything. I can appoint a chief. I can dehorn a chief. So dehorn in language is kind of like firing, terminating.
I love that term though, dehorn.
Dehorn.
That's a cool term.
But yeah, so it's like, long story short, kind of like being the president,
Yeah, I mean, and it's so fascinating because I think in American mainstream culture, we go right to chief, But, as Red Road reveals, the chief is not really the truly highest level of power of, authority in the tribe.
Clan mother is, their position is higher than a chief. And men still converse.
Yeah.
And chiefs still converse with the clan mothers. There's many clan mothers worldwide. We kind of have like an HR. Everybody does. All tribes do.
It's so cool.
I call it like that. But it's higher,
And you talk about in here that like clan mothers, you like kind of have a secret communication between you guys, which is it's just so cool, honestly. Yeah. These are things that, that's why I said it was so revelatory to just read this book, because we don't consider those things. Those things aren't really talked about. Again, maybe it's coming from Western culture, but we look at like, the male chiefs. We don't hear much about the clan mothers, and so it's fascinating to hear. And me and Adam have talked about this, and it almost seems like a series of checks and balances on power and authority that are a little absent in Western society and culture. Yep. So it's just fascinating. Again,
our tribe has many of books, and some of the books that my father has written and spoken. When he was becoming chief, there was chiefs that came from all over. He knew a majority of them, but then there were some that he didn't know.
Yeah.
And they come just like with the clan mothers, they all come and, you're being approved of, there's ceremony, witnessing, and it's kind of like your HR again.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see how, power and authority are kind of given.
Yeah, the women are the backbone, they hold all the healing.
It makes sense.
And, the wisdom and the hope and the medicines and so on and so forth. So
it's just, and I guess to me, it's just so radically different than the Western tradition that I grew up in. I mean, as you say, women are like the spiritual ones in the which I totally dig personally. Yeah. But it's just fascinating. Again, it's so radical. We don't think about this in mainstream culture. Again, we think about the chiefs. When we watch movies about Indians, there's the male chief, but the clan mother isn't always talked about. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
Because there's a lot of female chiefs right now. You know, you'd be surprised. A lot of women are kind of in lead and have been for a very long time.
And in one of my classes, not for nothing, we read a book and it was talking about the use of women in diplomacy and stuff. And they, in the Texas borderlands, they fulfilled a very important position.
Yeah, very important role. They hold it all.
And I think that's
all together.
And I guess that's what I'm realizing is a very big difference again between kind of the traditional gender roles in Western society is that you make a very good point in here that they're different. They are not subservient to each other. One is not less than the other, and I think that's a really important part.
Right.
It's very different than where we're coming from with gender roles in the Western society. Although things are changing, of course.
Right.
But it's still and like we said, checks and balances, much like the U.S. government tries to do in their way. But and so this is a lot of tribes all over the U.S. Generally function in this way with this kind of structure.
Yeah, there is one tribe in Connecticut. I won't give the name.
Oh, yeah.
For privacy reasons and friendship and relative reasons. There is no clan mother. There is no chief. There is no chiefess. There's no, sub-chief, council chief or that. They have, a chairman.
Yeah, okay. So there's a little variation among things.
Vice chair and chairman, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to know also you are two separate communities, two separate people, so you all have your own way of doing things. Which, again, I think is a very important point because I think all too much we think of Indians as one conglomerate group when there's so much diversity within you guys. So, thank you for that. No, it's so fascinating. Again, I don't think we talk about the clan mothers enough. But it's so interesting. So, like I said, the clan mother, you are, there to help guide your people and everything. Speak to me about children in the community, because you said some really interesting things in Red Road about how you view children and what your role is in the children's lives and stuff.
Getting them ready and prepared, to make sure they have a nice, clean, clear, open road and staying on that road and, being able to not have to suffer, like our past generations have, and to have that protection as well, to know their heritage, their identity, where they come from. What does this mean? What does that mean? The cooking, going out to socials, going out to powwows, going out to ceremonies, what different herbs mean this and that, and the medicines that you can utilize, foods and survival skills mainly. We've survived this whole time thanks to our ancestors, we're here because of them.
Yeah.
So trying to make sure that the youth is prepared to take on
the challenge
what we've all took on when it's our time.
I love the fact that you mentioned that there's a code of ethics also.
Yeah.
That you teach children, and I just thought that was so powerful. Also.
Yeah, all tribes follow that.
Yeah.
The code of ethics. We kind of have our own 10 commandments, basically.
Yeah.
The respect word and,
I mean, that's the thing is it was very geared towards, I got very much the golden rule out of it, that you treat others how we want to be treated. That's a good universal ethical rule, right?
Yeah.
No, I just thought that was so and the way that you say, children are closer to spirituality and stuff. And it's fascinating because, not for nothing, I actually grew up with that idea that children are close. You see that quite a bit, I feel all over the place. And it's just so interesting. So you say you were, you spot children early, too, with certain, gifts and stuff?
Yeah, they're looked upon at a young age, and they're groomed at a young age, but that's how you'll know who carries that medicine bundle or who is going to be that war chief or who is going to know how to sew those regalias together, who's a good bead worker. You'll see their talents and their personalities and the things, and the certain type of dances they might do, or the medicine that they're going to carry, and the spiritual gifts. So yeah.
And you try to like foster that. That's it's so fascinating to think of children like inhabiting these roles and showing these signs so early. And I feel like again we don't necessarily in our system we talk about letting kids figure it out and go on their own, and we kind of wait till we're 18 to kind of get there. But no, it's so fascinating. And so speaking of kids, what are some of the challenges that like you guys are facing now? I mean, you said you have a nice, your birth rate is still going and everything, but what other challenges are you still working on that you think your future generations?
I just think it's the cost of living is not what it used to be.
Oh, well.
Everybody's struggling. Yeah. And just the way the worldly is right now, it's a really scary place to live in. It's not like it used to be. So it's kind of just, all agree on that one. You're kind of just teaching things that you might have taught or been taught from your ancestors and your past generations, teaching them that, but also teaching them the non-indigenous, the other side.
Yeah, like
worldly,
yes,
they need worlds. To know. Yeah, they need to know,
What is it? Two-eyed seeing? Is that like that kind of concept? Yeah.
Yeah, you want them to know what they're able to utilize and what they have and know and what their protection is and what paths they're going to take. So you kind of worry about that, their safety, their living situation and
and I think that's something that a lot of people can identify with is worrying about future generations.
We just want them to be able to connect to the land and the earth. And Mother Earth and
maintain their
spirit,
your native culture. Yeah, no, that's I think a really good point, and I think a lot of people would understand that because I don't think they're the only. I don't think a lot of communities are dealing with that right now. Quite frankly. Yeah. I mean, let's say I do have I want to switch gears a little bit. I'm looking at my questions.
That's okay. That's fine.
Okay, so. You're in Golden Hill, right? Golden Hill, but originally Golden Hill Reservation was located in downtown Bridgeport, correct?
80 acres, yeah.
Yes, 80 acres. And now you guys have a quarter acre in Trumbull Race. Which it was awesome to read your father's book, A Quarter Acre of Heartache. I almost consider Red Road almost like a follow-up to Quarter Acre of Heartache because they're talking about very much the same ideas. So it was really fascinating to read that and then go on to your words and how you kind of continued a lot of those ideas. But I mean, how does it feel knowing that like that's a main commercial center and like that was your people's lands and like burials are there still and stuff?
It's a very long, hard fight.
Yeah.
Our past generations, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, our ancestors, everybody's fought for that and still fighting for that.
Oh God, yeah.
Giving prayers, giving thanks for our ancestors. Who may be under a lot of that rubble, who may be under a lot of that foundation, letting them know that our side has tried, numerous times, which I know they know this, I'm sure they see this, but to at least acknowledge, I
guess that was my next question. It was what
the tribe is like acknowledging, bringing the tribe in, basically giving it back, really. I know that's not going to happen overnight, 1, 2, 3, but
we've been trying to really,
just bringing the tribe, up to date, up to speed, having a good relationship, with the tribe and the government, and politicians, and working together. But yeah, that's just a lot of things is wishful thinking.
Yeah,
a lot of prayers and hoping things do turn around and come back to the tribe.
Yeah. God, I can imagine that. I mean, a lot of wishful. Yeah, I mean, not for nothing.
A lot of that is like Rocky Hill that they gave. You just can't use it. Use it.
Yeah.
The trying
land
to tell us
they
we could give
you,
this
yes.
and that. Yeah, it's just we had overseers and land being stolen and taken and.
Well, as you said, now you only have a quarter acre in Trumbull.
Yeah, and they
that
think
got whittled down
because we were making brooms and baskets that we made a good living off that we didn't need our land and it's a lot in those. Document history paperwork.
There's a lot. Yes, I can tell you from my own classes. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
I mean, for all over the United States. I think we, again in mainstream culture, we think a lot about the Western natives, but I mean it's over here too, and you guys have been dealing with it longer, 200 years longer. So I guess that was my question. Is I mean, as non-native people who live in the area, what can we do to kind of respect that and honor that? history.
I always tell a lot of people it's also word of mouth and just bringing awareness, whether you have social media, whether you have your own blog or so on and so forth, talking to your friends and family, letting people know whose area it is, whose land it is. Did you know that once, Golden Hope Paugusset lived here, and listen to all these names of the streets, the wording. That's all the American
There's so
Indian
many native words that are still
just
existent.
For people to keep bringing that awareness and speaking that and talking about it, keeping our name out there and alive in what areas.
And not for nothing. It's funny because I always go back to in school. I was told, they really talked they really minimized the native impact here. But then I would go home. And I'd have my father going, no, what are they talking about? This is where they live. They love look at this place. It's great here.
Yes.
Like, why would you not want to live here?
Yeah.
And like I've said, he was friends with people in the Pequot, so I got that education very early. But no, not for nothing, I have been trying to have you guys at the Bridgeport Library, so you guys are present, because that is historically your land. But so we're going to continue doing that and try to bring you guys. But you're right. It's good to know how we can, as non-natives, advocate. Because I think for a lot of non-native people, we want to be allies. We want to advocate. But we also don't want to be guilty of appropriating anything or, going too far. So it's good to hear this from you and to hear that. Which actually, that brings me to my next question. What would you have to say to people who are... a little different, non-native, but who maybe don't, you use the word jive in your book, don't jive with Christian Judeo tradition, but, find much more identification with native spiritual beliefs. Is there any advice or anything you have to say to them?
Yeah, I've just been like this all my life. I used to always tell my mother, I don't like when people would preach to me or try to put the religion and culture on me. Everybody should be free to choose. Yeah. What path of religion and cultural they want to, take, but respect everybody's, understand everybody's. We go into the NEPI, which is Sweat Lodge. That's our church. What do you mean that's your church? That's your church, Well, you can bring this Bible in your church. No, we cannot bring that Bible in our church, So, we want people to understand there is a line there, to understand and to respect that. We have our ancestors that died for our sins. Our grandmothers prayed for us to be in existence and for our protection down here. So,
a mutual respect.
Yeah, I just, I don't want everyone to think, oh, you can't just keep blaming this religion and that religion. But are you not seeing the facts? What your religion did? Yeah. To a lot of children and women and, elderly, there's, rape and abuse and murder and kidnapping. Yeah. Every day they're finding all the evidence and remains everywhere at churches.
Residential schools and all that. Yeah,
so
well, that's a big I know that's a big one, because I know in Canada they found that mass grave.
Yeah, they've been going to all the states.
Yes, and these days I know they have been. Do we have any residential schools in Connecticut? Did we have them?
Yeah, I know there was a report that went out. That they were speaking with some of them and looking, and so they're going around and they're doing that. So,
but were the Paugussetts? Did they go to those mission schools? Were anybody from the Paugussetts sent there?
There's different schools. I went to a transitional house, and it was out of state. I know a lot of friends and family, relatives, whose aunts, mothers, and, grandmothers who are part of different residentials. My father went to a school, and I don't know if you read it in a lot of the documents or in his book, but he had gone to a school here in Bridgeport, and he was tired of all the abuse.
And then he ran,
the fight.
Right?
Yeah, he ran away. Yeah. Because back then, you had the nuns, you had the ruler, so...
I have heard it from my mother in the 70s with the nuns. I can only imagine.
He couldn't do it anymore.
I don't blame him necessarily.
Right. So,
but it's incredible to hear him. He's like, how old was he when he ran away? And he was pretty young, right?
9-10 years old. I
can't even imagine. Yeah. I would not have been able to handle myself in the woods either then. But it ended up working out really well for him. He ended up meeting that family.
The Levine family. And the funny thing is, the Levine family still live in Maine, and my dad passed away in 2008. And they stayed in touch.
Ugh, I love that.
And they sent a letter letting us know that when he turned 18 and 19, and he left, he was grown now, and he wanted to, do other things and tribe and, his mom and things like that. They left his room the exact same way, that it was still the same exact way.
That is so sweet.
Up until the day he passed away. They never touched it.
That is
Because they thought that you never know if he ever had to come back, even if he was a grown man, if any of his children, grandchildren, and they stayed in touch with him. And,
they fully adopted him into the family.
They stayed in touch with my grandmother, his mom, they communicated. She was okay with him, living there. And so, but
and this was a non-native family, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's important to know is it wasn't always...
because my dad traveled through the woods to stay off from Connecticut to Maine. He's, traveled through the woods to stay off.
I can't imagine 9 or 10 in the woods. Oh my God.
He survived.
It's incredible.
And he was a very smart man for not graduating high school, grammar school, middle school, none of that. Very smart. Very smart man.
And that doesn't really indicate intelligence all the time.
Oh yeah, he knew everything and anything.
It's just so incredible to think of a 10-year-old boy going through the woods to Maine.
Yeah.
Not to Maine, which is not even just down the street. That's a good few days.
Yeah. He was spiritually gifted, so he knew to trust that family.
That's awesome.
That found him and took him in, and
that's just
and they could have been in trouble as well. You're hiding a minor at a very young age.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially like these days.
Yeah. It's a little different, but yeah.
No, and it's interesting. I think it's also interesting to point out that, when you get to individual relationships like that, it's like the differences start to melt away. In one of my books, and they're talking about living in allotment and stuff, and the books I read for my class, and how they did end up being quite good friends with a lot of their white non-native neighbors. Yeah. Once you get to know people.
We've had friends. We always call them supporters of Golden Hill, but they develop friendships.
Yeah.
And they're not American Indian. And, they support the tribe very well. And you develop wonderful friendships. And, they're friends with other tribes.
Love
and,
that.
They're always there to assist and bring awareness and to support in any way they can.
Yeah, so, whatever.
That's always a wonderful, great thing to have those friendships and relationships that people do support any and every American Indian tribe, not just one particular one,
And I think I come from a family like that.
Yeah.
That was like that.
Yeah.
Even my stepfather, he has traveled extensively in the Southwest, and he has visited many tribes down there, collected some art and stuff, and he's very much into it also. Yeah. So I was really excited when he could come and meet you last weekend.
Yeah,
it was really exciting.
That was really nice.
So your father, like you said, he knew who to trust and stuff, and he was spiritual. So I guess what would you have to say to non-Native Americans about approaching the land? What we can do?
Well, just giving for Mother Earth, that's our mother, for the earth and the land, and just giving thanks to her for providing, blessing the land, respecting the land. Don't destroy it more than it is. Mother Earth is hurting. We're all suffering. This global warming, this climate change, it's a little too late. That's kind of like someone telling you have stage 4 cancer, you have a week. It's a little too late.
It's a little,
You're trying, to make things better with the global warming and climate change, but it's really a little too late. In the meantime, just giving prayers of thanks and respect Mother Earth and the land. That is, our mother. She's hurting. She needs medicine.
We could turn Thanksgiving into an actual Thanksgiving.
Right.
To the earth.
So she's providing. And then you got our trees that provide the water and oxygen. They're providing the firewood to keep the warmth. They're providing the medicines, and you just got to give thanks every day and pray for their healing. Pray for this global warming and climate change to get better. I know it's too late, but you just got to give thanks and just kind of keep praying for them.
Not for nothing, they're also...
Respect that earth and land.
I will say also, they're probably, do some research about native grasses. My brother, he has gotten very into that, so he planted wildflowers and clover all over our yard, which got us a few comments from the neighbors.
Yeah.
But he held strong.
I like the no-mo look everywhere. I think that's really pretty.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We got a really mixed response. You'd hear some people go by and be like, oh, they need to mow their lawn.
Yeah, but it's so pretty.
Then you'd get other people come by and be like, wow, look at all the flowers. Yeah. Especially the little babies. They loved it.
Yeah, we have to do the best that we can. Me and my sons will go to certain areas of our land, mostly, especially like Indian Wells and Shelton. And we'll bring garbage bags, and I've done it too with friends. We'll bring garbage bags and gloves
just clean up.
It's not a bad. That's our ancestral land. That's our ancestral place. We can't leave that like that.
It's not a bad idea. We could all do that.
Yeah, so we go, we clean it up. I do a little quick ceremony for them, leave them from offerings, and get on my way.
No, I mean, I think that's something we could all do, honestly. Like you said, that's very basic. That's simple. You can be native, non-native. You could be
And I understand, like, you and 5 other people could be walking down the street, and those 4 people just dumped a whole garbage can full of garbage on the street. There's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You know, besides picking it up, cleaning it up. But for you personally, show, Creator, show Mother Earth that you did not do that. You're not going to drop your trash on the garbage, on the land. So
I'm gonna be honest. I was in the I think it was Yellowstone, and I saw someone in Yellowstone throw trash, and I went into the bushes and grabbed it because I didn't want to yell at them because I didn't want to be that person, but I went and grabbed it because I was like, I was speechless.
Of all places.
Yeah, of all places, Yellowstone. Right. I was like, come on.
That's been stoned too from tribes, but
that's a whole other topic for another day. But although to be fair, we do have them, so go enjoy those national parks.
Beautiful place.
They are beautiful, and honestly, when you walk on those places, you could feel. You would feel that there is something special there.
Indian land.
It's like the Badlands, like I told you. I mean, we were talking about once. The Badlands. You feel it there. Yep. Honestly, you feel that there is something. Yeah. There is something there. Can't put my finger on it and what it is. Yeah. But there's something there.
Right.
I also think it's fascinating that with things like that, they all call it the Badlands. Yeah, different languages, the French, the English. Yeah. God, it's the natives that were living there. It's just so fascinating. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, these spaces, to me, it kind of calls all around the world. We have all these different religious traditions, but there are certain places that seem to hold spirituality regardless of what it is. All right, so going forward, we've been talking a lot about the future. What is one of your big goals for your community that right now, or in the?
Well, I want all of my family tribal members to thrive, to survive, to live a happy, healthy, blessed, protected life, especially for their children and grandchildren. Like I said, our next 7 generations, to be federally recognized for everybody. Being state recognized. Having that federal recognition and then having it revoked from you, you meet all 7 criteria plus more. They give you that preliminary probation, 30, 90 days, 60, 90, just to find something. They ask for it, you provide it. So they continue to ask for stuff, you provide it. But then they want you to run into a snag where they're like, okay, no, this isn't going to work. This is what we need. It's not matching up, blah, blah, blah. And then it's, removed from you. Just like with the other state tribes here in Connecticut.
Yes, yeah.
That being revoked and taken away on the most worst day, on Columbus Day, with a slap
oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was on Columbus Day.
So as many politicians, we have a lot of politicians that are on our side, and then there's a lot of politicians who are against us. So, you have one who has even said in court under oath that the Golden Hill Paugusset tribe was a real legitimate tribe, which was Richard Blumenthal. You have the Connecticut Mirror newspaper that you could find online going back to like 2018, all when Obama was in office. And they ended up revoking and putting a ban, which was only for the state of Connecticut tribes.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about this rule,
that if you applied for federal recognition, you could no longer apply again. They put that on the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So, that's where they get you, because everybody has around the whole entire United States
applied for federal.
Right, to give somebody else a chance. Now, the thing with that is, again, that was only supposed to be for Connecticut tribes. Yeah. They ended up putting that.
Yeah, you had mentioned that at one point, yes.
And that kind of all the tribes around the world who are state trying to be federal. And then you have some that aren't even state, and they're trying. They got caught in our crossfire, and they're fighting, as well as the state tribes here in Connecticut. We're all in support of each other.
I was going to say,
we're all helping each other. We're all backing each other up. We all have our own separate tribal, attorneys. But again, they did this past recent, like summertime. They started in summer, and fall, or September maybe. There was a deadline where they opened it up for public comment. So anybody and everybody can write a public comment of support online, email. They had a listening session. Our tribal chairwoman was on it. Our lawyer, there was a few people, but again, it was mixed tribes on there. Yeah. But you had a listening session of public comments. So there's, 2 people at the Bureau of Indian Affairs who are working on this, and, our lawyers are on top of it, tribal attorneys, and we're checking the sites, and reporters that I have spoken to, they keep calling and asking BIA for a comment, and
I was gonna say, yes, if people are interested, you can go and there's a bunch of news stories about
it's online. The news stories, the up to dates, and going on the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which a lot of that information and the dates are very old. I'm talking years and years when my father was still alive.
Yes, yeah.
They haven't really updated anything on there or put any, new things of dates, but so we're still fighting, because that federal recognition is our identity,
Yes. Yeah.
And, it's our medical and our housing,
it's
our healthcare, our schooling, and our language. Yeah, there's a lot, with that. So
I guess to non-native people, we're like, what is the point of federal? Like,
everybody thinks it's casino and land claims. Let's just stop with that. There's a lot more to that. It's preserving our our culture, our nature, our identity. There's a lot with that.
Sovereignty.
Yes, there's a whole lot with that, and they need to give everybody a chance. Listen to the tribe. Don't take one side and run with it. Stop just listening to one side that is putting fear in you, misusing their political office to put fear into the residents of Connecticut.
Yeah. About what would happen.
Right. Why don't you get the information straight from the horse's mouth? Why don't you listen to both sides? Ask a million questions.
Yeah.
We're going to answer it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of information to show that we are not lying. We are telling the truth. That's online. It's all public document.
Yeah.
Our documents, too, on BAA. Anybody can get on there and
You're right.
read.
That
It's
is.
all a public forum.
Yeah, you're right.
You can read everything there. So there is things in there. So, you're listening to one side and they shouldn't, be so.
Get all the information from both sides.
Correct.
And then make a determination.
Correct.
No, and you're not wrong. I mean, then there's the other, not for nothing, there are the logistical issues of, a lot of native cultures were oral. And they just don't have the written records before a certain point. So then we just have all that, too. Is we just whole bunch of issues going on.
Correct.
And
Correct.
Well, we wish you luck on that one, and we'll have to
Thank
keep
you.
an eye on that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of red tape. I would just say a lot of document paperwork.
Bureaucracy. What are you gonna do?
I mean, and it's spread out everywhere. It's spread out in the state capital in Connecticut. It's spread out in Washington D.C. at Bureau of Indian Affairs. And then we have ours on backup disc because paperwork is very old, very fragile, very discolored.
Archives, man.
So
double.
Right,
You gotta double.
we have places where it's and archived and locked up,
and then you have a
key
digital,
and
physical,
fraud and,
everything.
and it's spread out to specific people and places where you wouldn't even know or think of, and people that you don't know of that tribal people, that wouldn't know because it's under lock and key for safekeeping.
Fair.
Because a lot of that documentation you never want to lose, you never want to let go of. You don't want, floods, water, everything gets ruined.
That's why you have it in 5 different places.
Yes. Yes, you got to have a backup, especially for those future generations.
Especially when, your status and a lot of your future hinges so crucially on those documents.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily think about that because not for nothing, I lose my copy of whatever, I can go down to town hall and get it.
Yeah. Wow. Our tribal attorneys, too, just boxes and boxes.
I can imagine.
And they're out of state. We have one, in state, and then we have one in Washington and one in Florida. So, it's and boxes and boxes and one. And then he visits, in New Jersey, so there's a couple other people that he communes and talks with that work with us. So, I can
imagine.
Far away places,
because
too.
I have a box for my own family. I can imagine the amount of
boxes. Probably filled this room. Yeah. They have a lot of it.
Although part of me is like, ooh, fun to go through.
Yeah.
See. No, but I think, I don't think, like you said, I know there's a lot of things. We hear federal recognition as non-natives, and we have certain connotations, but we don't even realize the process and how difficult it is and the challenges.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like Bridgeport, where a lot of your documentary evidence colonized and lost, not for nothing.
Right.
But you have been able to maintain certain...
Correct. But I also do think that the famous words, and I learned this from my dad, even for military personnel, no matter what office or business or place you call, vital records, it doesn't matter. Oh, we lost it in the fire. Everything is a fire. Everything is a fire. That's all you hear. I think a lot of it is there, you have it, you don't want to give up the documents, or you just threw it out, you got rid of it because it's nothing, it's a
not for
nobody.
nothing.
You just throw the tribe again back on the back burner and you forget about us.
And, not for nothing, we do lose archival documents sometimes, and they'll get lost in the collection. You kind of got to re-find them. That does happen, but you're right. It's like it happens a lot.
Yeah, and that famous word. Every time I talk to other people that have said, oh, I've called this place, that place, and, even if it has nothing to do with us, but you hear it around, it's like the famous word. And my dad used to say it all the time.
Yeah.
Even when he needed something, and it's his military paper. Oh, it was lost in a fire.
Yeah, and I know they're actually, like, this. I actually encountered that recently because there's some group of military files that were lost in a fire, and it happened to be my ancestors' files. Lost in what are you going to do? Yeah. Sometimes it does happen, but, and now I hope that, maybe it's just between some pages and we just got to find it. Yeah. That's the other difficulty with archives.
Yeah.
That does happen. That is known to happen.
Yeah.
To get lost. But I think that's the fun part about archives, though, is when you rediscover that. Mm-hmm. That would be, that'd be like, dreams.
That's why, I learned a lot from my father to write everything down, to make copies of everything, put everything in binders, and...
My father was the same way.
I'm glad that it's split in different areas for safekeeping because it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody just has a copy of it, so it's
My father did the same thing about our own family history. He made sure everybody he has the originals, but everybody has a copy.
Yeah. We have few tribal family members in Maine that have binders of things, so you just got to know.
My difficulty now is finding out who has what. That's what I'm trying to put together.
Yeah. It'll be hard to find on my end, so.
No, but
I don't know everybody in mine, so it's going to be hard to find. Yeah.
But I mean, you're right though. I mean, thinking about like it doesn't have this need for this documentary evidence, and we still have boxes and boxes. You're right. The amount of documents must be immense. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, and a lot of them could just get ruined in general of moisture. Sure. Just moisture. If you don't preserve paperwork from like 1800s.
That's a big thing in archives.
So even if there's no floods, there's nothing, no spilling juice or, pudding or something on it food-wise, it's the actual atmosphere, mold, things like that. So you still have to preserve.
That is one of the biggest problems in archives is HVAC
Yes,
systems.
you still have to preserve. And then lighting, too. I learned a lot over the years. Museum and, history teachers and historical societies, lighting can actually damage a piece of paper.
So I started out as a chemistry major, and going into archives, the amount of chemistry that actually became applicable to archives, you're right, the light, the temperature, I mean, I think it's the Beinecke at Yale, they have it so the marble is so thin the UV doesn't come through, which is so awesome.
So there's a lot that, goes into that,
Very, you have to,
not, just
it's very nuanced.
Copy machine and USB, there's a lot that goes into that.
Exactly, and different file formats too aren't always equal. I mean, have you guys had that happen? Have you guys lost any records due to like file obsolescence?
Mold.
Oh, okay, mold. Yeah, okay, fair. And anything with an old tape, you're gonna that stuff has to be
the
ditched.
tape, mold,
that
and
stuff
things
is not
like that, and very expensive to do a lot of this changeover and copy and sending and. You're
not wrong, and I mean,
it's
archives
a good thing too for
very
people.
Familiar with that.
But
no, even in my family,
it's very helpful and easy when some of our people's traveled. And rental, so it's a lot easier, but it does get very costly. It's not easy. So for just people listening, that's kind of easy. Just go to library. It's 15 cents a page. No, it's a lot of work. It's very costly.
It is. I mean, especially again, like you're saying, like
all the USBs and switching, digital, because every technology is upgraded.
And it's so fast.
And so.
I mean, I remember as a kid, we went through all the kind of family VHSs, and my dad got this really handy machine that was a DVD recorder and VHS. So as he played the VHS, it would record onto DVD.
Oh, cool.
I think we still have it technically. But no, because that was his concern. He didn't want to lose any of those. Yeah. And he knew that the magnetic tape was already kind of going out. So, no, you're right. It took a while. He did that for ages. And that's just with our home videos. I can only have, again.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's why some people make whole jobs out of it.
A lot of work.
Oh, okay. So how can we, non-natives, in general, non-natives also advocate for, Native people in general all over the U.S.? I mean, we have a lot of stereotypes, a lot of misconceptions. What would be your advice for people who are non-native to kind of help with that?
I do see a lot of non-natives, especially the youth, college, high school age, basically. I see a lot of non-natives who are in big, huge support of indigenous peoples. And
Awesome.
They already are advocating whatever way they can to support and help out. And then, that. I think it's 2024. Nothing ever changes. So you still get the same as it was when we were in school.
Yeah.
You still have non-natives, whether there are children, teenagers, adults. It doesn't really matter. Age, grade, school, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to run into someone who's going to disapprove of you.
Yeah.
Who is going to be rude and disrespectful.
There's always someone, right?
Will argue with you politics, when it comes down to that. So I'm very thankful for those who are in support, and I'm thankful for those who want to learn, who want to start bringing awareness and want to,
It's awesome that the teenagers are in on it, because you kind of think of teenagers, little punks.
I've seen it a lot.
So we're improving. We're getting better. There's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope.
Because I think they take the time to listen.
Fair.
And they ask questions.
And they were probably
and
taught
I've been bouncing around speaking to so many teachers and schools and
have you been in the Bridgeport schools then? Yeah, awesome. Because I did see in your father's book that he used to run an educational program at the Bridgeport schools. What was that? I
know he was PTA. ABCD. Well, I know it's not called that anymore. It's called Alliance or something like that. People are telling me it's not called ABCD anymore. I think it's called Alliance. He went around traveling to schools and speaking history and about the tribe and about himself. He started in prisons. There's a lot of American Indians in prisons. So he started a prison circle, which I don't know if many of the prisons are still going and doing it. I know a lot of people were appointed after that, and they still kept it going for so long until our medicine man, Tom Flanders, passed away. He was one of the chaplains in the prison, so he continued on for
I have no
my
idea.
Dad
Wow, that's
circles.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So the schools, still going around. Myself and other tribal members for years. We just bounce around. Whatever schools reach out to us,
awesome.
We go.
That's what I like to do.
And depending on the age and grade, performance, either dancing or strumming, storytelling.
Topics you're talking
presentation, slideshow. Yeah, it all depends and questions.
Yeah, I'm sure you can talk with the high school kids a little bit
so it
different.
all depends what they request,
Yes, no, which your crafts are usually awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Everyone had a lot of very good things to say about your beads, by the way.
Thank you.
Actually, one of my coworkers complained about not being able to do it.
Oh.
No, but it's really good to hear, though, the younger generation. I mean, I like to think that things improve after a while, right? Have you been working with the Freeman Center? Is there a connection there? Because I know you guys' history is extremely intertwined with Little Librarian and everything. And you speak about that in Red Road, too.
Yes. So, Mary and Eliza Freeman, relatives, cousins. It's
fascinating women.
Right. It's in our history, doctrine, documents that I have seen and gone due to undisclosed things of other American Indians who was at an opening somewhere here in Bridgeport, and some things were not mentioned or said. Long story short, they are African American and American Indian, okay? But for whatever reason, they keep being left out of that they are American Indian, Golden Hill Paugusset.
Again,
so there was a little thing there, and I went through all my documents.
Yeah. And you speak to it in here, too,
paperwork and files and records, 1800s. Yeah, all that Freeman and Sherman's.
She also mentions it and stuff and how they work.
It's all backed up. But I tried to put myself out there so have other members of the tribe.
Yeah.
My nephews and, other people on the board and council. I've spoken with a lot of them, met with a lot of them, and that were part of the center.
Yeah. So there is a communication and talk, but I mean,
yes and no.
Yes and
I'm
no.
probably not going to comment on that any further.
Fair enough.
Many people.
But about, I mean, like you say in your book,
won't disclose too much.
Fair enough. But as you say,
Privacy Act. Yeah. Kind of like the HIPAA law.
Yeah.
On our end.
Fair. But as you say in your book, though, I don't think we realize a lot that Indigenous and African American history are so intertwined.
It is, and they were very well known, very prominent women, very powerful, and they should be.
Well, they say they were richer than Bonham, right?
They should be honored and respected and told. Not only are they African American, they're American Indian, and they are from Golden Hill Paugusset
And they're
tribe.
women. I mean,
Yes, I just,
as a
I do
woman-
the best that I can to try and help the best that I can. If they need my help, the Freeman Center, if they want to reach out to the tribe, we're more than welcome to work with them together and help out in any way we can.
And I think that's really important for people to, again, non-natives to know, people who, like me, are white, non-native. Like, again, the communities are very intertwined. It's not quite so separate, black and white. There's a lot
Right.
of overlap in between.
Right.
Like you say, there's a lot of similarities in spirituality and traditional spiritualities, which again was very revelatory for me, because I think in our culture we see the African American and the Native communities as very separate.
Yeah.
But in history, they are not.
They're our ancestors. They're my ancestors, and I give thanks and gratitude to them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the Seminole and everything, they're all mixed. It's just different. Like, we have to change how we're thinking about this history. We have to change our perception, our perspective.
Yeah.
Wrap our heads around it.
Yeah.
That it isn't, like, it's all just so intertwined. Impacts each other.
Yes.
But yeah. No, that's, thank you for answering that question.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank
It
you.
had occurred to me that I didn't ask about that, because I didn't
that's
honestly
fine.
just want to know.
And do either of you have anything else? That
Yes,
you
is
want
there
to add?
anything else that you want to say, add? This is
No,
your platform.
I thank you. I thank the listeners, and many blessings to all of you, and may you all walk in peace and beauty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shoran. And thank you to everybody out here who has been listening to this episode of Bridgeport Unmasked. We have been Clan Mother Shoran Piper, Librarians Kate and Adam. The book is Red Road, and this is Bridgeport Public Library's podcast. Join us for another episode real soon, and please tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, and random strangers that you run into all about this podcast. Have a great day, all of you.